Hi, everyone. Ooh, yay. Hi, Rachel. You might get really lucky and be the only person who's here because everybody else just wants the replay because they're at work. I was about to have to record all this by myself. That was going to be great. Hi. Okay. So, hi. I'm going to get started in just a minute because I waited 5 minutes for people to get in and just one of you is here, which is great. At least somebody's here. That makes things a lot better for me. We're going to go over everything and just get started, but this is going to be super interactive. So it's not going to be like, it's going to be as interactive as it can be with the two of us, but that just means you get special treatment if you want to be interactive. If you don't, I'll just go based off of some of the answers that I got from yesterday's workshop and just go from there. Otherwise, you can just put in the chat or you can just use your microphone and talk to me since it's just you. Yesterday we had like 25 participants, so we had a lot of interaction, a lot of people, and they were all kind of in it, but it's just us today, so it's gonna be a little interesting. So I'm just gonna go ahead and share and start presenting to you, and then we'll get started.
Sounds
If you have any questions, feel free to stop me or put it in the comments, whatever. If you don't know how to use the chat's in the bottom right-hand corner. It looks like a chat button, I guess. And just type your message there if you want to, and you can go from there, and I'll see it. So this is obviously Make Him Obsessed Again webinar, and it's my second time doing it because last night didn't record, but that just gives me practice, so it's fine. I'm super excited, and we're gonna go through everything about kind of livening up your intimacy, making your man obsessed with you again, and just diving deep into all that encompasses your sexual intimacy. So it's gonna be super, super fun. At least I think so. Cool. So what you're gonna need, kind of a quiet space. You're gonna need an open mind, a desire to learn and to grow, and a notebook and a pen. A notebook and a pen is super important because I'm gonna say awesome, incredible fucking things, and you're gonna want to write them down because you're gonna want to remember them later. And if you don't write them down, you're just gonna be like, what was that thing she said to do? Or that thing that she gave us a tip on? Oh, I don't remember. She said something about doing this thing with his balls, and I just don't remember what that was. So if you write it down, you'll be more likely to look back. But then if you have ADHD, you'll just forget about whatever notebook it is in. So go grab one of your 17 notebooks and write this shit down. A piece of paper works too. Cool. So today we're going to go over my mission, why I do it, about me, my mindset. Well, not my mindset around sex, desire, exploring, finding it, and our strategies and goals for making this happen. All of these are super important. Going through the steps and finding your desire, exploring things, finding, you'll get what find it means when we get there. And that's just accomplishing strategies and goals and making them so that it actually applies to your intimacy is a big thing. Because if we can look at it and be like, oh, this all sounds great on paper or in this presentation, but like, how do I apply it to my life? How do I apply it to my intimacy? And that's why we're going to make this kind of interactive. That's why you're going to put in the comments, or I'm going to refer to comments that we talked about yesterday, and all of that, and just go from there. So it kind of gives you a mindset of looking into what other people experience as well. So, all right, so my mission, my purpose, all of that stuff. So if you've never ever been on my website, you know that my tagline is helping every person realize, regardless of their gender, their size, their lifestyle, that they are strong, beautiful sexual beings, and they're worthy of more than being held to these ludicrous fucking standards that society gives us, and worth more than living a life of judgment and inauthenticity. So hearing that, my mission really comes from like living a life surrounded by women who didn't even like themselves, let alone love themselves, and not even just to do with their body, but with their mission, their purpose, their lifestyle. And then being surrounded with men who didn't help them love themselves. They didn't support them in that. They didn't support them in their intimacy, in their body, in their life. And being around that made me want to help couples and help people find their strength in their intimacy and the importance of that. So, pleasure isn't something to be ashamed of. Sexuality isn't something to be ashamed of. It's something to actually embrace and to bring into your life because it will up level it consistently. So, intimacy isn't key to enjoying life, as I just said. It's to show you that your intimacy in your life, desire, pleasure, all of it, is really actually key to enjoying your life and enjoying your partnerships and your relationships, and not just sexual ones altogether. So, and last but not least, well, not last but not least, sex is intimacy and sex is fun. Just having those connections and having that desire and the fun in it and having the communication and the open things creates such a more fun life and free relationship with your partner. So, yeah. Last, you are in control of your pleasure and you alone. That's something we're really, really going to hone in on during this workshop. I know that it's named Make Him Obsessed Again, but we're really going to focus on all encompassing your intimacy with yourself and with a partner. So, let's be honest, if there's a way that I can help people live their best lives, I'm going to do it. That's what I'm here for, and that's what my mission in this life. So, an icebreaker that I'd like to do is I want you to pop off in the comments what your favorite position is or your favorite sexual act. Last night we got a lot of doggy style, and someone was like, "Oh, missionary is kind of like my favorite," but people like shit on it. And I was like, "There's no shitting on any position. Sexual positions can all be great as long as you're connecting with your partner in them and they have those like intimate moments." There's no shitting on any type of position. As I said, we got a lot of doggy style. Somebody said reverse cowgirl, like she said RCG, and I had no idea for a second what that meant. And I was like, oh, gotcha. But all the different positions and why they liked them. And we went over like someone said reverse cowgirl just like hits the spot, and they really like that. And they can like also stimulate like their clitoris, so they're just not getting penetration. So it was super helpful for them. Rachel, what's your favorite position or sexual act?
Favorite sexual act is definitely probably the foreplay. Like,
Oh, facts. Yeah, I agree with that. And see, no one said that in the comments. And I was yesterday, and I was like, I don't know, you girls are slacking on this whole foreplay thing. For me, everything's about the foreplay. Like,
yes.
we're like, like foreplay is great, and we're gonna get into that too. I definitely say that. Cool. So a little bit about me. If you don't already know, I'm an international boudoir and erotica photographer. I have been for 7 years. I've been a photographer for like 16 years, but boudoir and erotica specifically for 7 years. And I've had over 1,000 experiences and traveled to, I think, 5 countries at this point to work. I'm a certified sexologist and intimacy coach since 2021, and I'm also an authentic life and body coach since 2023. So, as you know, I just like to change people's lives. Statistics is this is crazy, but if you look it up, 74% of couples have sex less than 2 or 3 times a month. That means most of the time they're having sex once every 2 weeks, typically. Sometimes maybe you'll slip in a second one, like they'll do it once a week and then not. But most of the time, 74% of couples aren't even having sex once a week. That's crazy. Women, 75% of women never reach orgasm from intercourse alone. That means penetration alone. So that's where the foreplay that we're talking about comes into plan, because like most women can't get off just by sticking your dick in them. It just doesn't work like that. They need clitoral stimulation or some sort of other stimulation. So let me guess, by being here, you might be feeling one of these things. You're either overwhelmed, overtouched, or maybe undertouched. Depends on who you are. Either like a piece of meat that doesn't get prepared right, or just a little stale, bored, stagnant, and looking for some new things to liven up things and things to re-spark a little bit of fun in your relationship. No matter what you're here for, it's great. You're here. You're here to learn. That means you're here to grow. Doesn't matter what one of these things you're in. Everybody feels these ways at some point in their life or some point in their relationship. So the fact that you're here to learn and grow is super important, and I'm super excited to go over all of it with you. Cool. So let's get to desiring desire. What I want you to come and say is, first, what does a typical sexual experience look like in your relationship right now? So let's just chat about this. I'll go over a few things that we talked about yesterday because we don't have as many people today. But think about it. The positions, how long, foreplay, do you finish? Usually, how often is it? Is it slow? Is it fast? Is it emotional? Is it rough? What is it? And just let me know what that looks like. I know we had a lot yesterday that were like not, I don't know. They said it was just typical, get it when they can. They have to be quiet because the kids, they have to work around. They only get to see each other so often. It only happens when they can like get to it. It's not a priority. It's just like when they beg for it or they're not in the mood because they're stressed. That was a lot of different answers that we got. So Rachel, what does that typically look like for you? If you're okay with the answer.
Yeah, I'm pretty comfortable. Honestly, it's just kind of stale at this point. It's like just get yourself off and like leave me alone at this point. Like you don't care about anything but yourself.
Yeah, that's a problem. And that's not uncommon at all. And so we were talking about this yesterday, and I'm sure we'll get into it more. But the thing about like sexual experiences, especially in longer relationship, is that we become kind of dependent on our partner for our pleasure, right? Like we're just like, oh well, we're together, so like our sexual experiences should be together, and like you should get me off, and all of these things. But like we're still in control of our own pleasure. So like the fact that we have to relate that to somebody else shouldn't really be a thing. We have to learn to separate that. Like if you don't want to be in that moment with your partner, you have to be able to release that pressure to pleasure them. But you also have to be able to give yourself like the permission to pleasure yourself when you want to. So it's totally okay to be like, hey, I don't really want to have sex right now, but I'm totally cool with like watching you play with yourself or us both playing with ourselves like mutually, or creating another scenario that's still sexy for you and maybe showing him what you're into and how you like it when you play with yourself will make him see different things and see how to kind of maybe touch you in the moment that will do better. And that's helpful in the way that like, oh, well, like now the pressure isn't on me. So like, I'd love for you to go play with yourself. Maybe you can video yourself or tell me what you think about later. And then the pressure isn't on you and it creates a new sexy, fun way to talk about your desire and to engage with each other in that moment. Instead of just being like, let's have penetration, even though I don't want to have sex with you. If that makes sense. Does that make sense, Rachel?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. All right. Oh, I missed a question. Let me go back. All right. So now in these moments, what do you look like? So when you do you look, are you loud? Are you quiet? Are you touchy? Are you hands off? Is there talking? Is there no talking? Are you laughing? Are you enjoying yourself? Are you just kind of like there and like, this is happening? We got lots of answers yesterday. Sometimes people said they're loud or they have to be quiet because of whatever scenarios. And we talked about touching. And the thing about hands is like there's so much you can do with your hands. And I think that people kind of hold themselves back in that way. They don't explore as much as they can with their hands or even with their body or with their mouth. And because we do fall into this stagnant, like, okay, we're having sex, get it in, get it out, get yours. Like, let's just hurry this up. I'm not really in the mood because you're not enthusiastically having fun with it and switching it up and like varying it. And the thing is that hands and foreplay and all of that create the variation. Foreplay is where you get most of your variation in your sex. Yes, there's different positions and whatever during actual penetration, but the foreplay is where you can really fuck around and like just have fun the whole time. So let's get to desiring desire. I already said that. Do it again. What role do you play in your intimacy prior to sexual moments? Do you take charge? Are you initiating? Are there other touches throughout the day? Do you come up behind them and hug them from behind? Do you rub their arms? Just who initiates these like random touches if they do happen. If there is no random touches, it's the only form of intimacy that you guys have as a partner or as a relationship when you're in these sexual moments. And then it's just kind of like an expectant touch, right? Like you're being not being pressured, but in a way of society pressures and relationship pressures and all of that. You're being pressured to have sex because you're like, oh, well, your orgasm depends on me. And clearly, like, you haven't had it for like 7 days. I should sleep with my husband because he's my husband, or my partner because they're my partner. And I should just do this because that's what I'm supposed to do. Instead of being like, I really want this man to just, and that's something that we have to change our mindset around. Hi, Sam. Welcome. You can say hi if you want. If not, we are answering some questions. If you want to answer them in the chat, you can. We were kind of talking about what our sexual moments look like in our typical sexual experience. In the way of like positions, how long, is there foreplay, is there not foreplay, do you finish, how often, slow, fast, emotional, hard, kind of all those things and going over them. So if you want to put them in the comments, what yours is like. We're kind of discussing what role this plays into making sure that we have a good intimate balance. If you don't know how to use the chat, it's in the bottom right hand corner where you can click chat with everyone and put some responses if you want. I'll go ahead and pop a hey in there. If you don't want to type in there, you don't have to. I will just, oh, hi, there you go. Cool. So if you want to go ahead and type in there what your typical like sexual interaction looks like with your partner, whether you're loud, you're quiet, you're on top, what positions you typically go to, if there's like kind of a bing bang boom, get it done with, or if it's slow, or if it's engaging, or if it's kind of boring, if it's stagnant, where you are in your relationship with your sexual intimacy at the moment. Having in the chat kind of helps us look at it and kind of depict it, and also then I can just read all of your messages and respond to them easily, I guess. Yeah. I'll give you a minute if you want to put it in there. Yesterday we got a lot of, as I said, people saying that they're like, it happened when they like kind of didn't beg their husband, but when they told them, and that their sex just wasn't as fun for them anymore because their desires had changed, and they had tried to relay that to their partner, or what she liked 5 years ago wasn't what she liked now, and he kept trying to do what she liked in the past, and so it was really hard to learn how to grow from what her desires were before to what her desires are now. And same thing for other partners is like your desires are changing just like your taste buds. I said actually probably a lot more often than our taste buds do. Our taste buds change constantly. They fall off, we get new ones, whatever. And it's kind of the same for our sexual desires. They're growing and changing and moving consistently throughout our lives. And so the fact that something you liked 5 years ago you don't like now is not uncommon. It's just how do you approach that in your relationship, and how do you communicate that in a way that makes your partner not feel like they're fucking up, but makes them feel validated. Any comments and questions, just ask away. I love hearing them. So again, what do you look like in these moments? Are you loud? Are you quiet? Are you touchy? Are you hands off? Are you interactive? Interactive is really like the big question. Like, are you in that moment, or is your head elsewhere during these moments together? Okay, so what role do you play in your intimacy prior to sexual moments? So, question in this really is, are you ever the one initiating? Are you ever the one going up behind your husband and smacking partner, husband, man, whatever, smacking his butt, telling him how delicious he looks, telling him how much you want him later? Any of those things, right? Like, are you ever encouraging desire and intimacy throughout the day, not just in the moments of, okay, like, I guess we can have sex. At the end of the day, I'm in bed. I guess it's like kind of like the time that I should do this and the time for us to get it in, instead of enjoying each other throughout the day and building that desire up throughout it. And if you want to, super helpful to me. You don't have to. It's really great to have interactions. I love interactive webinars. Yesterday we had about 20 people. Today there's the two of you, so it's okay. But we're just working with a little bit less interaction. But the more you guys give me, the better. The more I can give you in terms of helping you and giving you more tips and growing your intimacy. So honestly, you're technically getting like a free coaching thing by just being the two of you. So if you have questions or you want to give me your scenario, where you're at, what's lacking, what you need help with in the comments, that would be super helpful because I can give you the help that you need throughout answering the questions through here. So I want you to sit and think about what touches and moments happen throughout the day that make you feel desired, or that you make your partner feel desired, or try to initiate some sort of desire from them. You want to put that in the comments. Teenage kids, it's hard to find time. They aren't rare. When you do it at home, it doesn't contain foreplay, mostly getting it done because I can be very loud because I'm asking to be, yes. So we're going to get into that, but having more initiative is super important. Having that enthusiasm so it doesn't always feel like he's the only one that wants it. Because being the one that, I think that's my next slide. But getting in it and being the only one that like pushes it or asks for it makes it feel like kind of like they're the burden, right? It feels like they're expecting it from you and that they control your pleasure and all of that. Yesterday we talked a lot about, because a lot of people said they couldn't be loud, right? And that wasn't a thing because they had children or whatever. So we talked about ideas of how not to be loud, how to still be in those moments, but like contain the loudness. And a hand over the mouth was a great one. So like whatever he's doing, a hand over your mouth. One, it engages huge sensory things, even though you're not technically taking away a sense, right? You still have your hearing, you still have your nose, you still have your eyesight, whatever. But a hand over the mouth does intrigue like taking something away, right? It's a little bit harder to breathe. It takes away your sound. It muffles it. And it adds a different level of like kink and intensity and adds more to your brain and your stimulation in your senses by taking that away. If he can't use his hand, use your own hand or put your head in a pillow. Works too. Ball gags work. Biting a hand, biting an arm. There's different things that you can do to kind of control your sound and by putting something in your mouth. So, yes. Master closet. I never even thought about that. I mean, if it's big enough, get it. Perfect. Yeah. I can be loud. Most people are loud. And the thing is, if you're enjoying it, that's a normal thing, right? And I get into that too. Not being quiet is kind of hard and it makes you feel like you're not enjoying it as much. And it's a sensory thing. It's telling your brain, right? Your moans tell your brain that you're enjoying it and it creates more sensitive things and like your neurons fire in a different way, right? Just like when you smile, even if you're not happy, it tricks your brain into being happy. Moaning makes you feel more desire, makes you feel more pleasure and all of that. So yes, I'm in my I need it rough area. So if you're in this era of needing it a certain way, does he understand that you need it? Like, have you communicated that you need it a certain way, or have you kind of not even had that conversation, but led him down that road? I think a lot of things is like and this is not everybody, and you can take offense or not, but I'm someone who tells it, we expect our partners to be mind readers. And most partners need a little bit more than a subtle hint, right? Like a moving their hand, like they're like, oh yeah, well, she just moved my hand because it's not in the right spot. But if you do it over and over again, eventually they're going to get the hint. Or if you're just like, oh, not there, a little bit to the right, and you move their hand and put it there, you're like, oh yeah, that's really great. And then give them confirmation through moan and through, different body reactions, right? Like if they're getting the good reaction or you're quieter during this moment and louder during this one, eventually their brain is going to recognize that you're enjoying this more than you're enjoying this. And if you have to assist them in doing that by putting your hand there, by leading them, by showing them what you want, do it, because it will help your intimacy. And they want to pleasure you, right? Like they don't, I mean, most people want to like pleasure their partners. If they don't, you just need to throw the whole thing away and get a new one. Because pleasure is important for both sides. I'm just kidding, kind of. It doesn't contain foreplay because I don't think that you should take away foreplay just because you're loud, because there's ways to work around. Sorry, Sam, I'm back to you. There's ways to work around being loud to not have to take away foreplay, because foreplay is super important. You can't just like stick it in. Like that's how you rub raw. That's how you lose the desire. That's how you don't get yours, because like he's already hiked and you're not even ready because you haven't been warmed up. And kind of back and forth for the same thing. We also expect like, just like men kind of expect you to be like wet, just like that, without warming up. We kind of expect men to get hard just like that. And we don't give them the same grace as we give women most of the time. So we have to be able to say, okay, well, it's okay if you need foreplay too to get hard. And it's okay if I need foreplay to get wet. And like, it's okay to need these things before we get intimate with each other. Actually, it's great because it gives you time to explore each other and to kind of grow in that way. I get that. I get that. Is there anything like you can give your kids, I guess, to do? Or just be like, mom and dad are we're having a super important conversation and trying to work out the bills. Or you want to know what you do? Tell them you want to clean them to clean their rooms. You won't see them for like ever. Because if you do see them, what they're gonna do is think you're gonna tell them to clean their rooms again, but really you just want them to do. You just want sexy time. It's one of my favorite tricks. Is like tell them like ask them to do something you know they don't want to do, and typically it will make them not come around you for a little while because they don't want to do it. Kids are assholes, so it works out. All right, so I'm gonna go back to here. Okay, so the best thing you can do for your intimacy is be in the moment, actually want your intimacy, be enthusiastic in it, and engage. So honestly, often men are the ones given the task to or role or expectation to start interaction, like sexual interactions, to initiate, to somebody's joining. I think she's back. I love that idea of doing hotels. That's really smart. I think it's if it works, one that gives you a whole night away of not having to be like parents and right, and it gives you an escape for each other. But you don't want your intimacy to only rely on those moments, because then you're gonna probably lose out. Like you might have really intense intimacy moments leading like the few days before the hotel, and a few days after, like coming down. But then you're gonna see like these ups and downs, right? Because like in the mix of not having them, you're like, oh, well, I have nothing to look forward to in this moment, or it's like a week away or something, right? So it's great to have that to look forward to, but if it's the only moments that you have, then you're always searching for that moment instead of living in your intimacy and your fun and enjoying each other constantly. So I love that idea, and I love that you do it and it works out. Just be careful of not just searching for that night. Be careful, try to keep your intimacy alive throughout the day and otherwise as well. Um, because you can just like make it kind of like when you go on vacation constantly and then you're always looking for the next vacation and the next thing instead of enjoying the moment and the life that you live. You don't want to do that in your intimacy. So as I said, men are usually given this role expectation to initiate. But what that does is, and what they really desire is for you to be just as much into it and just as much initiating and desiring them and wanting it and going for it as they are. Because then it doesn't feel one sided. It doesn't feel like they only want you and like you're not as into it and they're pressuring you or whatever, or they're sexualizing you. And like they might not have a problem doing that, but knowing that you're just as much into it, or you're just as much likely to go and grab his butt, or to be like, damn, or whisper in his ear, I can't wait till later, or something sexy, right? That's going to hype him up, right? It's going to make them want to perform better. Like an eager, engaged partner is literally life changing. Don't get me wrong, being a pillow princess once in a while is literally so much fun. And just experience pleasure. But there's difference between like being a pillow princess and just being a starfish or not being engaged in your intimacy at all. And we have to find a way to be engaged like our partners are and meet them. And the more enthusiastic you are, the more enthusiastic they are, the more engaged they are, the more they're going to show up, the more they're going to show out, the more they're going to be a part of your intimacy, because that desire is going to build throughout the day. And the thing is, small touches and small moments change intimacy completely. They change your sex completely, because as I said, the desire builds, the moments build. You think about them throughout the day. It's not just, okay, it's bedtime, I'm gonna get my rocks off and then we're gonna go to bed. They're gonna be thinking about you from the moment you like sensually kiss them in the morning when they leave for work and whisper in the ear, you can't wait for tonight. Throughout the day, if you send them that like text message, right, they're gonna think about you through those moments, because you're building the intimacy from the moment you wake up in the morning. It's not just at during sexual moments. So let's get into exploration. It's my favorite. Let's check your guys' comments. Sorry, your internet crashed. I'm so glad you're back. What do you guys think about what I just said? If you have comments, concerns, anything that you want me to touch on, let me know. If you need me to slow down, I can as well. So cool. Let's explore. As I said before, your hands have so many things they could be doing. The thing is that we overthink it. We'll just be like laying there, our hand on his back, our hand wherever. Sorry, my throat got dry. We have to learn to use our hands, rub his arms, grip his back, grip his thighs, scratch his arms, different touches, right? Pull him in deeper through his back, pull him in deeper through his thighs, just into your space. Like bring you both closer in the moment and together closer. And then what you want to, we're gonna get into this after, but you want to see what touches gets the most response from your partner and from yourself. You can do these. I'm gonna give you an activity, and you can do it both with yourself or with your partner. But we're gonna get into that. What parts of him are you leaving untouched, unattended, or just honestly forgotten about or unexplored? The thing is that exploring different levels of touch, whether you like light scratches or dark, like deep digging in scratches, or light fingertips like gliding along his skin, or wants a deep, intense grabbing massage kind of thing. Does he enjoy his hair being pulled? Does he enjoy his head being rubbed if he doesn't have a lot of hair? Does he enjoy fingers in his hair, like the scratching of his head? What are the things that he enjoys? If you don't know, explore it. And if you haven't explored it, this is the time to like think about those things and be like, I don't even know what he wants, or if he likes that or not. Another thing is nipple play, or if you don't know what a taint is, it's the area between like the balls and the butt. Exploring there, like that's a super erogenous zone for men, for anybody but men too. But nipples are so forgotten about in men. They're just as sensitive as ours are, but people make it weird, right? Society and like statistically, and society and the way that we're raised, men are led to experience sex with just their penis, honestly, right? Like, and we know that, we talk about that constantly. If you look in memes, if you look in ideas and whatever, men are just taught about experiencing sex with their penis. We don't talk about them experiencing sex throughout their whole body, or experiencing sex in their brain, or emotional sex. We don't talk about that when it comes to men, but we do with women, right? We talk about our emotions, how stress affects it, whatever. But with men, we just talk about how they feel it in their penis. And so we forget about all of these other aspects that like happen to men, and the fact that they do have nipples that can be like just as much stimulating, just as erogenous zone as their penises and their taint and all these areas that lead to more pleasure and more in-depth sexual experiences for men that we don't get to talk about. And it's kind of made weird, right? Like when someone, like a man gets talking about, like, oh yeah, I really love my nipples played, it's not as socially acceptable as it is when, like, nipple play for women is like, oh yeah, I'm super into that. But men don't talk about it as much or can't talk about it as much, and it's not as socially acceptable to talk about it or be into it. And just the same with like having your butt played with. Men can't talk, like sometimes it's super still shunned about as it is with women. It's not. It's like, oh yeah, you're into butt stuff. That's amazing. I super love that. But like with men, it's like, you want your butthole touched? That's, and the G word that I don't like saying, but it happens. And so we have to, one, learn to let our men and our partners be vulnerable and allow them to release that shame and also explore their body with them in a safe, fun zone so that they get to experience things that they've been not led to think that they could experience or enjoy, and just show them how much like enjoyment and pleasure can come from those spots. And be understanding if they're a little standoffish and weird about it at first. And just tell them that it's totally normal and that they have the same things and go through all that. So, yeah. Any questions, concerns? Does this make complete sense? Have you ever touched your man's butthole? Yeah. You don't have to answer that if you don't want to. If you've ever touched their taint, are you into nipple play? Is your partner into nipple play? Have you ever explored playing with their nipples? Does your partner like head scratches? Do you know any of this information? I'm going to give you a minute to respond if you want to. If you don't respond, I'll just move on. Yesterday we were like, I got a lot of questions about those zones, and about engaging them and what they were, and just how much like their partner really loved like teasing over those spots, or how they didn't like it, and how to lead into that. So what I want you to do, and if you have your notebook for this, super important, time to write things down. So this is an activity, so write activity. What I want you to do is one night in bed, turn off all your lights. You don't have to blindfold him, but blindfolds are super great. Just cover his eyes, whatever. Have him lay down, lights off. And what I want you to do is just explore his body, honestly. So that means like light touches, different types of touches, different levels, from like light to deep massages to scratches to grips to like pulling, like different things to see what he reacts to the most. And I want you to do this throughout his whole body. So I don't want you to just do the erotic zones. I don't want you to just do like his nipples or his penis or whatever, balls or whatever. Like, I don't want you to just focus on that. I want you to focus on all of him. So start at his feet or start at his hands and his face and whatever, and see where you get the most reaction from. And so that means like listen to his breathing. If he's not really loud and like moans or groans or whatever, listen to the changing in breathing, whether his breath catches when you do something, whether deep touch elicits more of a like tense response or not. And talk to him. Do you like that? Like, would you like it deeper? Do you want it lighter? Like, ask those questions and slowly play around and just play and enjoy. And you're going to learn so much more about their body and what they enjoy in that moment, than you probably have throughout most of your relationship with your intimacy, because we aren't really solely focused on somebody in their reactions to things. Typically in the middle of a moment, we're enjoying things ourselves, we're engaged in that sexual moment, but we're not completely engaged in learning our body, our partner's body, and their reactions. And most of the time what happens is that we know what we like, right? So like I love deep, intense, like grabbing, like rough scratches, bites, whatever. My partner really likes light touches, but because I really like this deep, intense thing, that you think that that's your go-to, right? I love that. That feels amazing. My body like lights on fire when that happens to me. So it's gotta light on fire for them too. They have to enjoy it. Like your brain thinks, oh, if this feels really good, it's gonna feel really good for them too. Chances are it might not. it might not be the same thing as you, just like love languages aren't the same. It might not match up. So by exploring their body in this way, with no pressure for them to return the pleasure, return this moment, or explore, and to just for them to lay back and for you to have complete reign to fully explore and fully have fun with your partner's body, and to learn it, and for them to fully soak in your touch in these moments is super like intense, but also important and like a priority to learn each other. And then if he likes it, one, you can do it again. Keep doing it. It's fun. And then maybe ask if he wants to try it with you to learn your body and be like, hey, what's that fun? Do you want to try it with me? And you don't want to do it the same night. You want to do it on different nights, or because you want them to just fully enjoy it and relax. And it doesn't have to lead to sex. It's actually better if it doesn't, because you can just fully explore touch and pleasure with them. And finally, like, you can get to the penis if you want to and explore whether they like it like super hard, if they like just the tip played with, what parts of the tip they play with, and just explore that and see what their reactions are. And you're taking notes in your head of all of this while you're enjoying it and they're enjoying it, and they're getting to be desired and pleasured and focused on, and they're getting to be like the spotlight in that night. And that's just such an awesome moment for everybody to enjoy, that hopefully they'll switch it up and do it to you too. Next. Okay, questions, concerns? Did you write all that down? Do you need anything? Cool. Let's find our voice. So, everyone wants to know they're doing something right. So, or doing something well, especially in the bedroom, and especially our partners. They want to know that they're pleasuring us. They want to know that it's working. And that's important to know. So, what I like to say is moans are kind of like cheers at a sporting event. They make the game, the teams are making good moves, they're making the right things happen, they're taking charge, they're doing all the great things, right? In order to happen to score the goal and win the game. They may not happen. Do you get what I'm saying? Like the correlation, catching the drift, like the same thing relating to sex, right? They're making all these moves happen, they're doing all those things to get you pleasure, to get you there, to grow, right? No player wants a silent crowd. No player wants a silent cheer section. No player wants somebody who's off thinking about what they got to do when they go home instead of present in the game. They want people who are their number one fans in those stands cheering them the fuck on. So, little whispers or gas or compliments will literally get your partner working harder than ever to please you, and also makes them enjoy themselves so much more. It makes them feel their pleasure so much deeper. It makes their brain neurons fire harder to make these moments happen. And it isn't one-sided. As I said, your praise will literally make him perform better and enjoy it more. It's gonna get more of those moans and becomes kind of a communication in your intimacy without the words. Your body has this way of speaking for you and communicating through the moans, through the whispers, through the pleasure, to tell his body the same thing. And it makes your intimacy and your sex even like more intense, and it makes it more engaged and enthusiastic. It makes your bodies work better and connect better. Being vocal doesn't have to mean dirty talk. I think a lot of people think that like, oh, I have to know to tell him to fuck me harder or whatever. And like, that's great. That's great. Do it. If that's where you're at and that's where you're comfortable, and if you enjoy that and you enjoy that, do it. But it doesn't have to be those things. It literally can be little like gasps or loss of breath or deeper breathing, more intense breathing, or moans, or you can do compliments. Compliments are great. Telling them they're doing great. If he's into being degraded, great. If he's being into praised, great. Find those things out and use them to your like most, I don't know, most availability. You guys are quiet, no comment. Does this make sense? I just want to check in with you guys, making sure that you're keeping up. If you have questions, just if it's hitting, if you have anything that you want me to hit on or explain deeper, let me know in the comments. I will totally like explain them more fluidly. Yeah. One lane or dead end foreplay. Here's the thing. There's no foreplay. There's absolutely no buildup. Taking 5 minutes to warm up will literally change your sexual moments and sexual experiences completely. I think it's crazy, and I talked about this yesterday, is that if you think about the BDSM world, we talk about BDSM scenes. These are like written out, these are planned out to a T. There's so much detail put into them, and talking about back and forth about one person and the other person and what is expected and whatever. But then when it comes to just sex between people, especially relationships, it just happens. There's no thought put into it most of the time. There's not any planning. You don't know what each person's coming in for in that moment. If we just took 5 minutes to be like, hey, I'm looking for this tonight. What are you looking for? What are you hoping for tonight? Or would you like this tonight? Like, what are you craving? Are you craving intense sex, or are you craving soft sex? Are you craving a really intense blowjob, or do you want to go down on me? Like, talking about those things and taking 5 minutes to warm your bodies up and your minds up and to engage, right, will change how you experience each other. So, sex can obviously become a chore. It can become super repetitive, super stale. But foreplay is kind of like endless in options and variations and fun. So we have to learn how to engage in different foreplays and different things to liven up our intimacy and our sex. Foreplay and intimacy should be teamwork. It should be a give and a take, creating the best sexual moments together. So here's the thing. You want to calm your mind and find your zone. Most people can't just like jump into sex, right? Some can, some do, especially if you have intimacy leading up throughout the day, small touches, texting, whatever. If you have those things, you can kind of just jump into having sex and penetration. But the thing is that most people don't want to do that. They want a warm up. Foreplay calms your mind, whether it's being held and rubbing each other's bodies, or actually engaging in hands and like hand jobs, fingering, oral, whatever, toys. They're all your friends. All toys are the best companions, whether that's for him or for you. And they definitely make really good men's toys, just as they do female ones. But it calms your mind and gets your mind into the zone before just jumping in, right? And it gets your mind connected with your body, your brain connected with your vulva and all the internal things happening. If your partner doesn't engage in foreplay with you prior, like to now, or prior to your sexual experiences, ask. There's nothing wrong with asking for it. If they don't want to put that effort in, don't be afraid to warm yourself up. Be like, hey, I get it. You're tired, had a long day. You don't want to do this. Is it okay if do you want to watch me like play with myself for a few minutes to get warmed up, and then I'll be totally into it. I just want to like warm myself up and like be ready instead of just jumping into it. And if they're not willing to do it for you, there's no reason at all that you should be able to warm yourself up and get yourself ready. And actually, most of the time, what it's going to do is they will get the gist that they're being kind of lazy or selfish or whatever, and they'll take over, or they'll be really into the idea of watching you do it, and be like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'll watch you play with yourself. That's super fucking hot. I'm totally about that. Well, they also like rub themselves. It's a hot and intense building moment. Or if they get really mad that you're like, oh, I want to warm myself up before you do this, and they're throwing a little fucking hissy fit and being a baby, and if they get up and like leave, the thing is that I don't want you to stop what you're doing and not pleasure yourself. You need to still get yourself off, and then you're able to go have a conversation that your pleasure matters and being ready matters, as does theirs. But like, you should not sacrifice your pleasure or being ready because somebody else just wants theirs. Your pleasure is still super important, and it cannot be dependable just on another person. Your pleasure cannot just depend on your partner, just as your partner's pleasure should not be solely dependable on you. Because if you do not want to have sex with them, they should be able to go and get themselves off and have pleasure, without you having to be the sole source of it. It's super important for us not to say, oh, well, if they want pleasure, it has to be from me, because then what it is it's a burden, because then you're like, oh shit, I have to have sex with my husband because I told him he couldn't masturbate, or I told my wife she couldn't masturbate because of whatever reason. So like I have to get her off. Whereas you can say, I'm in the middle of work or my brain's just not there. If you want to like play with yourself in the shower while you shower, like I'm totally cool. You can tell me what you thought about, and that's super sexy. Or like send a video. Or if you're like at that spot where you're like in the moment, if you want to call me in, I'll totally watch you. That's sexy. That's still including intimacy. That's still growing together. That's still having those moments without it having to be actual penetration. And it's a great way to increase desire and to make intimacy without it having to be solely about like or on your shoulders. If that makes sense, let me know. If you have questions with that, let me know too. And it's great to be like at the end of the day, hey, I was thinking about you earlier and I totally played with myself. And I was thinking maybe we could recreate the idea in my head that I had while I was playing with myself tonight. Sexy as fuck. Sexy as fuck, super engaging, super enthusiastic, and like that's you initiating, right? That's you saying, I warmed myself up for you, thinking about you. Now we need to make it happen. So let's try this, right? Um, I think the thing that's totally forgotten about is that great sex is work, just like a great relationship is. In order to get all the pieces right and to make sure we're both pleasure, like getting pleasure and all that, you have to actually care and put in effort. It's not just going to come the way it is constantly. And especially as you've been together longer, at first, heightened emotions, hypersensitive, all that, sure. Bing, bang, boom, you're bashing yourselves together constantly. But after a while, you have to work on keeping it alive and keeping it intense and doing all of those things. So if you want to, if you want to be interactive, if not, I mean, I'd love it. But if not, you can give me 5 things that you can do as foreplay in the comments, or things that your partner does to help each other see ideas. And I'll give you some of the ones that people gave yesterday as we talked about. Cool. I'm going to give you guys a minute just to give me some of your ideas, what you guys do as foreplay, what you do to engage, all of that, or what your partner does that you fucking love as foreplay. Any of those ideas in the comments would be wonderful. If you're like, Brie, I'm busy and stop bothering me with fucking questions, you can say that too. This is totally recorded, so everything that I say is just there. Breathe her blunt self. Foreplay for me, my favorite things are really like fingers, hands. Oh, the things that my man can do with his hands to get me off super quick. It's fucking insane. Like insane. I'm like, what are you doing with those? And like one day he was like, if I became a paraplegic, would you still love me? And I'd be like, you still got your hands? Because those things would be like great. Like, damn. I'm still getting it. Like, we'll figure it out. I can still figure out pleasure. Promise you. You don't, not all about the penis, and it's not all about the vulva. It's not all about all that. It's all about your intimacy together as partners. So, well, you guys are teaching. Yesterday we had a lot of like really intense kissing, soft kisses, soft body exploration, laying together. It's like soft touches, kisses all over the body, up and down, in erogenous zones, inner thighs, um, like licking, just other things, like all of those things. Those were super, a lot of the answers that we got. And just soft touches and giving each other time to get into the mood or into the moment. And understanding that like it's not rejection. It's not rejection for your partner to not be in the mood in a moment, right? It's one thing if it's constantly, oh, naked massages, yes, yes, 100. Those are such a big turn on. They relax your body, but also get your body like heightened. So it's so funny because it like releases stress, but then heightens all your like good senses and makes you all tingly. Naked massages are great. Um, it's okay. Oh yeah, rejection doesn't mean that your partner's rejecting you or not into you, unless it's a constant thing in your relationship. I think that so many people think, oh, well, my husband doesn't want to have sex with me tonight, so like he doesn't love me anymore. Dramatic. But like, okay, if it's constant, like forever, like if it's like begging him to have sex with you ever, like that might be something that we have to look at. But for someone to have a bad day or a rough day or be stressed out or their brain's somewhere else or something is going on, and for them to say, I'm not really in the mood, that's them communicating with you. That's them being honest. And for you to be like angry about that means that they can't be truthful and honest with you. And that's a problem. It's completely okay for that. And then it's okay for you to be like, I know you're not in the mood. Are you okay if I play with yourself? Are you okay? Do you want to watch me? Do you not want to watch me? I can go in the shower if you don't want to be a part of it. Like I don't want to pressure you to be a part of it. But if you want to watch me, you totally can. I'm gonna use like my toy. And all those things. Or I know you don't want to have sex, but do you want me to go down on you? Do you want me to release some stress? Like ask the questions, see what level of intimacy they are okay with, or if they're just done for the day. But know that they do not need to be the sole purpose of your pleasure. You need to understand how to love your body and get yourself there without it having to be on your partner's shoulders, just like they do. Um, because it's super important for you to be able to explore your body, know what you want, and the things that you learn in those moments. Also, the thing I'm gonna go. The things that you learn in those moments will teach you so much in your sexual like intimacy together that you can help your partner and teach them. But it also leads to higher intimacy by you can take pictures in the moment, you can send a text message, you can just whisper in the ear that you're gonna like play with yourself later, thinking about them, or that you did play with yourself earlier, thinking about them or whatever. And then say what you thought about. Like there's so much ways to incorporate self-pleasure into leading into higher desired sexual intimacy with partners. Is this helpful? I hope it is. Cool. So on to our strategies, which we've kind of hit on, but we're going to go a little bit deeper into. So get enthusiastic again, guys, and have fun. Sex should be fun. If your partner sees you having fun, enjoying yourself, like they're gonna do the same. They're gonna feel your emotions. Your energies are literally going to match each other's energies. They're gonna get heightened. They're gonna get excited. They're gonna get enthusiastic, and they're gonna create more fun and excitement in your intimate moments. If you're dull and like this, yeah, let's get it done. They're gonna be like, duh, 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 duh. Okay, I got it done. Let's go to bed. If you're like getting it and you're excited, they're going to be excited and they're going to be like, how can we keep this going? How can we keep engaging? How can we keep this moment super excited, right? And then afterwards, you can talk about that and then the excitement of talking about it. And the next morning, you'll be like, so that last night, just keep it going. And then strategy number 2 is finding the pleasure in those little things, not just at sex time. Send some spicy texts, as I said, randomly. Embrace touch and dirty whispers throughout the day. Maybe grab a butt, nibble on an ear, nibble on neck. Feel sexy in the ordinary moments. Make those things. Even if you have kids around, there's nothing wrong with grabbing your husband's butt and whispering something in his ear, or giving him that look and like mouthing like "can't wait for later." Saying something that's like a little tease throughout the day. Like those things, number one, your kids, especially if they're teenagers, they don't give a fuck what you're doing most of the time. Like, they might not want to hear you have sex, but like, as far as how much of your life they care about, probably like, kind of minuscule. They're so worried about the drama of being a teenager. Strategy number 3, oral. Men love blowjobs. They just do. They just do. It's just incredible for them. One, the power of feeling like relaxed, also knowing that you trust them in that moment, and not having to do anything, to be able to like lay back and just be like, yeah, get it, like the power in that too. Men just love that. They just get to enjoy pleasure when it comes to oral, and it doesn't have to do with them pleasuring you. So, goals and objectives. So our objective for our strategy is to be engaged and enthusiastic instead of sexual interactions. This involves constantly touching, roaming during intimate moments, constantly touching, roaming with our hands, gripping, scratching, biting, kissing, Overwhelming senses during intimate moments vary by varying different types and levels of touches in your intimate moments. Instead of just keeping our hands in one spot and gripping his back, dig those, run those fingers up his back, grip his ears, put your hand in his hair, engage his body. Um, Something I love, like we were talking about missionary yesterday, and somebody was like, it's so boring. Like people think it's boring, but it's not. It's my favorite. It's connecting. I'm like, I don't think missionary is boring at all. It's just like it's a position that you can make yours in so many different ways. But one thing that I was saying is like if you grip his hips and like pull him in to meet you, men love that. It's like a power thing. You're taking control from the bottom. You're pulling his hips in. You're controlling it for rhythm. You're gonna fuck his shit up. It's gonna be like this is great. And it also just catches them off guard pretty often. So objective number 2, these little bits of random sexual feelings throughout the day sparks continuous desire in our partners. It makes them know that you want them, their mind is on you, their desire for you. It fuels them to show up and show out. Fuels them to keep going. When it's finally time for them to engage with you, they've been built up all day, right? Like that small intimacy has been building from the moment you said you were thinking about them that morning and you grabbed their butt or whatever. Their brains are triggered every single time there's a little bit of initiation and intimacy. And it keeps thinking about it throughout the day. Even if you so you grab their butt in the morning and there's not a text till 12, they're going to think about you grabbing their butt and like licking their ear, biting their, like nibbling on their earlobe. Like those feelings and those initiations like are going to live throughout the day to when you get to that sexual moment, he's going to be ready to like explode and go for it. So just a lingering hug, a back rub, a good hand on a hand on the small of his back, just like embracing can all trigger our brains to desire more intensely and to feel more pleasured and more loved and like more accepted. So objective number 3. Blowjobs are the secret to keeping your man not just happy, but honestly mind-boggled. They're the way to blow our man's mind. They alert his brain that we trust him. They release neurons that he's kind of in control and that all he has to focus on in that moment is his pleasure in the fact that you are pleasuring him for the sole purpose of pleasuring him. That you are kind of giving away that like control in order to give him the utmost pleasure in that moment. And his brain knows that and his body knows that. So he can like obsess over how you rock his world in that moment, and it allows him to like my favorite thing, lay back, relax, and enjoy his time, with your eyes rolled back and your toes curled. If you know the song. Yeah. Best obsession is a two-way street. I know the goal of this webinar was to show you how to make your man obsessed with you, but intimacy is also you being obsessed with them. You have to be obsessed with them the same way that you want them to be obsessed with you. You cannot just expect them to be head over heels for you, thinking about you all the time, talking to his friends about you, whatever. And like, if you're not doing the same thing, so if you're shitting on your partner or you're not giving the same things to them in the terms of like initiation or desire or wanting them, you can't really expect the same thing back because that's a lot of giving on their part and not a lot of giving on yours. And it's always a two-way street, just like your partnership is. So communicate, make it fun, carve out time, just like you said about the hotels and stuff, the time to sit down and have these conversations, make them fun, and make time for the two of you. A really good idea to do is to each write down 10 either bucket list things that you want to do together or 10 questions you want your partner to answer or that like spark in your mind, or would you rather or what would you do scenarios. And then both of you put them in like a bowl or a hat, whatever, and you pull and you answer them. It doesn't matter whether you get their question or your question. And you can both do it and you'll gain so much in your relationship and in your communication, and in knowledge of each other that it will really grow your intimacy and your relationship. Cool. So we're almost at the end, and I'm going to give you just a little thing. Don't sign off because I have a little bit more to talk about after this. But After this webinar, I am going to be doing a workshop. It's a 2-day virtual blowjob workshop where it will be hands-on and interactive. It will be virtual, it will not be in person, but we'll be doing step-by-step guidance and fun of learning how to get the best head ever, and all my tips and tricks of how to make your blowjobs fun and not boring and kind of like a burden or like a thing you don't want to do. It doesn't have to suck to suck. So let me help you change that. If you book now before the weekend, it is $29. It's $39 after this webinar, like after tomorrow. And if you share with your friends, when 3 of them books your spot in this workshop is free. We do have a cap on this at 20 people because obviously the more people, it's a little bit harder to help you guys learn how to get the best head, get the best blowjobs. And we are going to be having so much fun. It's going to be full of laughter and full of joy that I just cannot wait to, I don't know. I'm super excited about it, as you can tell, and I'm literally the blowjob queen, so it's gonna be fun. Yesterday they were all like, "Is your husband gonna be the model for this?" And I was like, "I don't think I'm allowed to suck dick on camera. I mean, I am, but like, we're not gonna do that for a work thing." So we'll be using other things. You can bring a toy, you can bring a cucumber, you can bring a banana, whatever you want. We're going to be having all the things, and I did just drop the link in the comments. If you would like to get in on that, you can. It's going to be lots of fun. It is 2 days, both at 8 p.m., starting at 8 p.m., like my normal ones are, and going till 9:30. And it is May 1st and 2nd. Cool. That was my little snippet of selling to you. I'm not into that. So if you want, and you would love to make me happy, if you could comment what the best thing you got from this workshop is, and if you learned anything in the comments, it would make me the happiest person. I did this just out of wanting to teach you guys and help you guys out. And so if you got anything from it, learned anything, felt like you gained any insight or anything to try with your partner, put it in the comments so I know what I'm doing right and what worked with this workshop and what I can do better next time. And makes me know just how incredible I'm doing and kind of keeps me going to do it again. It also helps me know what's hitting the best for women and what topics I should do more often and hit more on. So if you just put on the comments kind of what was the best and what you learned the most, and what you're going to take from this moving forward in your intimacy and what you're really excited to implement, it'll super help me. So I will give you guys just a second to do that. And then, yes, it's so important to care about you. Yeah, and it's crazy because when I started this workshop and when I named it, I didn't really like tell my husband what I named it. I just said I'm doing this webinar and I'm super excited to like teach it. And he's like, "Why did you make him obsessed again? It sounds like you're going with some like MAGA Trump thing, whatever. I probably want to change the name. It sounds like Make America Great Again instead of Make Him Obsessed Again." I was like, "Yeah, but it's not actually just about making your partner obsessed. It's about you finding obsession in your intimacy with your partner and your relationship." Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Sam. It is. You get so caught up in just that one thing that you don't think about like your regular intimacy and your regular moments because you're only looking forward to those other those things. And it happens a lot to people. So I just wanted to make sure you don't do that. Thank you guys so much. Super helpful. I'm glad you got it. And I hope you try all the actions and activities that I gave you, and let me know if they work, especially if you're in the group. You want to just let me know how it goes and how your partners liked them in exploring each other. Yeah. So thanks for getting intimate with me. I can't wait to do it again soon, and I hope you guys come to my next one. And I'm so glad you really enjoyed it. If you have any other questions or anything, you can put them in the comments. If not, thanks for coming. I was so happy to have you guys here. Even if it was just the 2 of you, I'm hoping you enjoyed it. You're welcome. I have so much fun doing these. I think it's just so much fun to actually openly talk about your intimacy and have a safe space to discuss it and discuss things that you're dealing with, because most of the time you're not alone. It's completely normal. So, and just have the permission to explore those problems or explore those issues or just voice how you're feeling. Because most of us don't have the time to do that, or people we can do that with. So awesome. I'm gonna give you just another minute just in case you have to know, and then I'll sign us off.